Now, you must also realize that the subconscious part of your brain most times will override and cause biases to you concerning certain matters and aspects of life. 1. You should rewire biases with neuroplasticity. 2. Pause for conscious choices. 3. Boost your empathy through the theory of mind. And 4. Overcome Solomon's paradox, time travel into the future. And 5. Explore consciousness for purpose. Hi, and welcome back to Stellar Insight. Today we're going to talk about something quite interesting, and it's the human mind, conscience, and how to leverage that for a better life. My name is Ezra, and I'm a medical student. So concerning this topic, some of the key facts that are out there that you should be aware of are these. First and foremost, the brain size has grown over time from around 400 cubic centimeters to around 1,350 cubic centimeters. Now, this, of course, was done by observation, by simply looking at closest ancestors to what we have today. Ancestors, I mean, in the sense that when they observe their genetic makeup, it's closely related to our own. So these are extinct species. So now, this growth in the size of the brain is driven by approximately 86 billion neurons and a dense prefrontal cortex, which is simply the area in your brain for planning, decision making, and responsible for social behavior. More research says that around 2 million years ago, Homo erectus developed tool use, which is linked to the parietal lobe, which is the area in your brain responsible for spatial and motor skills. Now, this is an important mark, like time mark, because what we have today, the existence of like humans as we are right now, intelligent humans, at least according to the terms that for which we define it for, is believed to have evolved 3,000 years ago. So whatever existed before that they're mostly other creatures, but not us. I hope you're staying with me on this. So now, 300,000 years ago, the FOXP2 gene mutations enabled language, symbolic thinking, which in turn led to a boost in abstract cognition and cultural evolution. So I think you can get the sense of what I mean by that. So this is the landmark. Mostly if you research, and you would find out that when you ask when exactly human beings started existing on Earth, most research would say around 300,000 years ago. Of course, more human-specific genes started to show up in subsequent periods after that fully classify humans as we are. There is another very important thing to realize about the human brain and what makes it unique from all other creatures is partly the fact that it develops for 25 years. So that means from 0 to age 25, your brain is just growing. Of course, growing by intaking information. The next species after us are chimpanzees, which their ceases to develop at around 5 years of age. So now, all those years of evolution and development of the human brain to this very complex neural net brings us to where we are right now. And don't forget, the human brain consumes just 20% of the body's energy. It has been found that for anything larger than or close to 15,000 cubic centimeters of a brain, there is inefficiency in energy or survival needs. In other words, the body will have to figure out ways of compromising other things in order to cater for the needs of the brain. Like compromise on other things just to cater for the needs of the brain. And of course, over time, you realize that there is always a way that is found around this for smooth existence of things. So to animals that don't need a lot of intelligence, it's just not there in their survival, let me say, box. Now, let's not forget that most of these processes are very, very, very gradual. Like they happen over a long period of time. More research says that autism prevalence. So autism is just a spectrum of different behavior and how the human mind works. So now the prevalence of that suggests that it's tagged to different variations and neuronal workings of the human brain that we see today. Social cognition, if I don't explain this is just simply put as like empathy, like your ability to have empathy, and it's derived from the theory of mind, which is a key human survival skill. We do realize that it's very, very important, and a lot of research is there to back this up, that we need society, we need people around us, people who love us, people who we can interact with, people who we love back. So now, let's get to the topic of conscience. Now, conscience is not fully understood, but at least we assume it's just awareness of self, environment. Science has not so much to add on besides that. So it involves integrated neuronal networks for perception, memory, and awareness. Evolutionary roots of conscience root back to around 500 million years ago. We suspect that maybe that is when this thing conscience maybe showed up through basic awareness in vertebrates. For example, fish feeling pain, that later led to our awareness, which is tied to the prefrontal cortex and its growth, like I previously told you, from around 300,000 years ago. And this is all recent research that has just been done this year. There are theories that we can also just keep in mind, one of which is global workspace theory. This puts conscience as a neuronal broadcast. Think of it as conscious as the ability of the entire society to all have one mind to an extent. And another theory is the integrated information theory, in that information can be transferred through this neuronal network that I've been telling you about. And there are obvious ways and then less obvious ways. For example, communication as we speak, that is transfer of information. So it's moving around in the neural network. And if you think about it to an extent, the values and principles that keep a certain society in check are an example of a unified conscience or a unified neuronal net, And there's also other work that is still debated a lot, which is about, for example, remote viewing. This is the ability of someone to pick information from distant locations or from the future without being there physically or having prior knowledge of the circumstance that is going on. It's still debated, but it has had immense success and results. This has been employed by intelligence agencies in different aspects, but it is just one of the illustrations of the ability of the human mind to transcend certain spaces that are not even physical. Now, when there is full understanding of this, then we can try to dig on when it started to show up and what are its implications, because when you look at the past, you understand the present, then predict the future, if we are together on that. So conscience evolved for social coordination, not just survival. So the theory of mind is very critical in such an incident. There is no complete neuronal map, we really do not know fully how. Now, you must also realize that the subconscious part of your brain most times will override and cause biases to you concerning certain matters and aspects of life. Conscious part of your brain most times will override and cause biases to you concerning certain matters and aspects of life, because this is so tagged to how a person was raised, a lot of things like their environment, which environment has a lot of variables, the things you grew up eating, the people you grew up associating with, and just the underlying factors of how the brain itself just developed in the womb of like a mother before you existed on the earth, if you think about that. So now, here are 5 keys that I think are good and can be used to leverage this complexity that we have in our mind for a better experience, for a better life, for a better, understanding. First and foremost, you should rewire those biases with neuroplasticity. I told you, neuroplasticity is the ability of the brain to be highly pliable. Think of it as a piece of plastic that you can bend into any direction, or like clay that you can squeeze into any shape, and it will stay in that for a long period of time, probably forever, until altered. So that is how the brain works. And if you understand that and figure out ways of leveraging it, you can know that you can change any mindset in you. You can change any behavior. Neuroplasticity allows lifelong neuronal rewiring, countering negativity, biases with mindfulness to strengthen prefrontal control. In that, I would use an illustration maybe on this, that a person grew up with certain biases about a certain subject because of where they were. Maybe all the people they knew failed it, or who around them convinced them that it was just so hard to understand. That is a bias, and it can in turn affect that individual's performance when it comes to that particular subject or understanding of the same. So neuroplasticity comes in that when you make a deliberate decision to get rid of the bias and to retrain your brain to actually perceive that particular subject or thing as easy and doable. So this can help override this can help override the impulsive survival traits. We all usually respond through that survival instinct, the very first thing that pops into your brain, which is influenced by your subconscious when faced with a challenge, can help you respond like in a more efficient way. This has been leveraged by bodies that have understood how they work. For example, people that are involved in military, they know exactly how to override their survival instinct in time of fear and make the most efficient decision without being influenced by their instinct for survival. So now, how do you employ this? First and foremost, practice observing thoughts as transient to build self-control. In that before you react, try to think. And the longer you do this, the better and quicker it becomes. Like it sort of replaces that instinct, that survival trait with a new form of working. That in case a challenge comes, you first settle back, think before you respond. For example, someone texts you about a certain thing, or it's a question, or it could be something very basic. You take time before like impulsively responding with maybe an abuse, or you take time, think, try to put yourself in their shoes, then you make better decisions in life. So the second point is this: pause for conscious choices. Now, I've partly touched this in the previous part of leveraging neuroplasticity. The second point is that you should pause for conscious choices, which is just exactly what I've just been explaining a few minutes ago. Your prefrontal cortex evolved for decision making, and this enables you to understand the space and respond to stimulus that is around you. And when you have the ability to, pause before you make a decision, it can help you like override the impulse, the survival traits that I've been telling you about. The practice is exactly the same. Pause and take thought before making decision. The third is boost empathy with the theory of mind. And I told you the theory of mind, the ability of the human mind to network and exist as one entity. I don't know if you've heard of how yeast or fungi works. They are always connected. They know when one area doesn't have enough nutrients, and they will carry what they have in excess in one area and transport it to another. So now the human mind is somewhat able to do something related to that. The theory of mind helps you understand and have empathy for others, and also try to get into their intentions as to why they do certain things. This can enhance your relationships. So you should practice cognitive audits to counter subconscious distortions. You should simply role play in others' perspectives daily. And this is tagged to the FOXP2 gene I told you about, which is driven for social evolution. When you observe a certain thing going about, before you give your own personal opinion, try to stand on both sides. Stand on the side of you as the observer. What does that imply to you? Stand on the sides of the two parties independently to understand what they perceive, because many of the decisions we make, we assume we all feel right about every decision we make. We all think we are right. We all think we are well-meaning. And yet, in other people's view, that could be completely different. So you should always take time and try to understand from another person's view. And that is simply the basis of empathy. So the fourth could be this: overcoming Solomon's paradox. And you'd ask, what is Solomon's paradox? Solomon's paradox is your ability to time travel into the future and ideally think of or try to draw a picture of what that future should look like, or what you want that future to look like. In other words, you can call it mental time travel for clarity and abstract thinking. This allows you to pick understanding from your past in order to draw inferences for what could be the implications in the future. So every decision you make, think hard about its future implications before you carry it on. Some of the things sound obvious, but they are very, very essential when it comes to day-to-day life or day-to-day driving, because when you're deliberate about them, you make better decisions concerning them. So the fifth is this: explore conscious for purpose. Conscious integrates sensory or self-awareness. Use archetypes or reflect on the most significant things for subconscious traits. This enhances meaning via social behavior evolution. I'll break that down for you. You should leverage that conscious bit of you, your ability to perceive all these things around you. Like, keep your focus on the right things. Keep your focus on the good things that you want to experience. Expose yourself to the good things. In turn, that will affect your subconscious mind, which is responsible for the survival traits, that instinctive reaction. In that when challenges come, you react not in the impulsive or less efficient way, but in the impulsive but more beneficial pathway which you have yourself created by exercising your brain to observe the good things. So those are the 5 ways in which I think we can leverage these many years of the human mind's development and evolution in order to live a very good and satisfying life. I'll tell you again. 1, you should rewire biases with neuroplasticity. 2, pause for conscious choices. 3, boost your empathy through the theory of mind. And 4, overcome Solomon's paradox, time travel into the future. And 5, explore consciousness for purpose. So as always, I do have some questions here that I've found people asking across the internet, and I'd like to take on a few of them. Maybe there's something there are questions that you also have. So the first one was one from a user on Reddit, and it says, how does consciousness evolve and can we train it? Yes, you can train your consciousness. Like I've told you, the more you expose yourself to the things you want to, the things that matter to you, the more you expose yourself to them, you're in turn training your consciousness. You will end up seeing all those things around where you go. And this can be in various ways. If, for example, you're obsessed with health and you constantly expose yourself to these things concerning health, how can you live a better life, exercising, biohacks, and all these various things, you'll find that in turn, even as you're moving around, you constantly make decisions that are right for your health. You're not being influenced by the taste of a thing, or your mind convincing you that, oh, that cupcake is going to taste so nice, or, you're most likely going to respond according to what you've trained your mind to do. From a user on X, someone asks, what brain changes help with focus in a distracted world? Neuroplasticity does counter the tech-driven attention shifts that we are having today. Some of them are good and some of them are bad. Of course, largely good, because the effect of social media and the tech-driven world that we're having today is really huge, as in how life expectancy has gone up by huge figures. Transportation, think of transportation, communication, all of these things have changed because of the evolution around tech. So, neuroplasticity can help you encounter. I'll still tell you, expose yourself to the very things that are important and significant to your life, not random things. Because even those random things, they have a certain consistency to them that might not be obvious, will in turn influence your subconscious mind. So someone on Facebook asks, can understanding conscience reduce stress? And the simple answer is yes. Always pause before you make decisions and employ empathy to the various things you make. Still on Reddit, how do evolutionary biases affect decision making? Negativity biases skew perception. Just know that negativity biases will skew your perception. Every time you have negative biases concerning a certain thing, it will affect your perception on that same matter every time it's brought up. For a stellar perspective, obviously, if you're very keen, you realize that most of these things I've been sharing, or the key 5 ways of leveraging conscience, are all things that are underlaid by the Bible. You should know that God set and built the human mind for survival on this world and no other. So he gave you everything that you need. Conscience is one of them. Your ability to have empathy is one of them, and kindness. All of those traits are hardwired in your brain. You have the ability to do them. They might be choked by something. They might be forgiving. All of those things, they're just hardwired in your brain. You should just understand that you can awaken them. You can reactivate them you can employ the factors I've given you. Study the word. Read the word of God. You'll understand more on how the human mind works, because this is his communication. It's communication. Think of it as a communication from his own mind to ours. It's another neural net that we have. So the understanding of his mind helps us in understanding our own. Yeah. And thank you for tuning in to a Stellar Insight for this episode. I hope you've loved what we've talked about. If you have a question, you can leave it in the comment section, or if you have some thought about how the conscience works, how the human brain works, you can also leave it there. And until next time, thank you so much, and shift your mind. Thank you.